If you're a Divi user, your instinct is to go right in and start building your pages. Well, that is wrong. And let me show you why this is the wrong workflow. So typically you would set up your page, you'd come over here, add your columns. So let's say on the left here, you want to add your text. So you'd go ahead and do that. And then over here on the right, you may want to go in and start making your design changes. For example, you want to add your text sizes. So you'd come over here to text and then say, okay, I need to use rem because I've probably watched a video somewhere saying rem is the best value. Okay, and it's right here. So there it is. But there's also a list of all these calc, min, max, clamp, and so on and so forth. This is how Divi moved from Divi 4 into an advanced page builder in Divi 5, because now we have all these values, but these bring complexity because now you're not sure which one to use. And if you do decide to use rem, by the way, it's good, but it is not advisable. And I'll let you know in a moment why you should not be using these type of values in your design process. Next, you probably would come over here to your font and say, let me use Poppins. In fact, it's right here, and select it here. Again, wrong. This is not how you choose your fonts when you design with Divi 5. Next, you may want to add, let's say, a color to the section here. So you'd come over here, go to your background, which is right here on the content, background, and then you click here on add background color. Again, your instinct is to come over here and say, okay, I think I have a color that I want to use. And then you start moving this color picker and you say, okay, that's the color I want to use. You know what? Wrong. That is not how you design using Divi 5. There's a totally new workflow. And let me share this with you. If you come into Divi 5 with a Divi 4 mindset, you've pretty much lost the design process. It's totally different now. To make things easier, I started looking at how to design websites that are fluid, because the last thing you want to do when you design websites is to come over here into these little screens here and adjust your text based on the screen size, because to be honest, there's so many of them. So the answer to that is fluid typography. You also need to use what is known as fluid spacing, because if you want to add spacing between elements, I mean, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to start adding elements or the sizes one by one. You need a design system. And this is what I created. It's called Krafter, Divi 5 design system. Right now we're on version 1.5. There's a lot of changes and I'm super excited to show you this product. So here's what happens here. So when you go to the Krafter design system, it looks like this. Everything has been designed ahead of time for you. You don't need to do anything as a designer because we have a design system. Think of it as your guide as you're building your website. So for example, here we have your heading text, heading 1, 2, 3, all up to 6. We also have our paragraph text. We have small, we have large, and then if you want to design, you know, like really big headings, we also have large, extra large, and extra, extra large. Look at this. All these buttons are pre-designed for you, and all these are presets, because in Divi 5, we're now using a preset-based system. No longer are we going in and adding things manually to create buttons. No, that is not how you design. Think of it as Tailwind. You know, professionals out there use Tailwind to design their websites. This is like a Tailwind for Divi. Okay, let's carry on. Look at these colors. This is our primary color. It has all the shades. No more guessing. You don't need to think about, okay, what shade should I use for this? No, none for that. No need for that. Here we have our secondary colors. We also have our grayscale colors. And this is where things get really exciting. Now, do you see this padding here? This is not normal padding. This is fluid padding. This spacing we have here on the margins, on the margin top and margin bottom, this is fluid. As you make the screen smaller, the spacing adjust itself. Now let me show you how this works. I'm going to go ahead and inspect this page here, okay? Now I want you to take a look at the spacing around this wording, okay? Now pay close attention because it's very, very important. Now, do you see that it's getting smaller and smaller as the screen size gets smaller? Do you see that? Do you see that? And by the way, the same applies with the headings. The headings also change size. So If you want to see that, I'm going to go back and show you how these headings are really amazing. All you need to do is to select it, and then it just works. You see that? You see that? So once you select your heading, it's going to look great on all mobile devices. It doesn't matter. Now, let's continue on. We also have the margin bottoms, margin top, and look at this. We also have alerts. These are elements that you can just add in, and these are designed using this framework. I mean, amazing. The border radius. Now, some of you are probably thinking, okay, if I use border radius, can I just guess what to add? No, it should be based on a spacing scale. And this is what we've used here. So this is radius extra small, small, medium, large, extra large. The images. This is black and white, sepia tone, and this is the normal one. And this is your section spacing. You see, everything here is responsive. Now, if I were to just drag the slider, you can see here on extra large, the padding is changing. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Extra large. I mean, keep an eye on the extra large one. Do you see that? Everything is going to look very, very clean on different devices. Look at that. So this way of designing is the proper way of designing websites in Divi 5. There is no other way you're going to have consistent looking websites. Now, this is not exciting if I don't show you an example of how this can be used in real time. So I want to take this opportunity now and show you how we can design a layout. And we're going for something so basic. We're not going to go very complicated here. We're going to go for something basic like this because this is a real world example, a website in the real world. And you're going to notice something very interesting here. The spacing between the buttons and the paragraph text is half this spacing here. And this spacing here is the same as this spacing here. It's very intentional. It's not guesswork. And when you use Divi, it gives you all these random spaces, which is not good. But anyway, let me show you how we would build this from scratch. So I'm going to be flipping between this and our new design here. So let's get rid of this because this is not how we want to design our websites. So if we take a look here, we can see we need 1, 2, 3 elements. Okay. And all these are texts. So we're going to go in and add a single row. Like that. Okay. So in this row, the first item is our text. So we're going to go ahead and add that. And we might as well just center it because we know it's going to be centered. The next item is going to be a heading. So I'm going to click on this plus button and select my heading here. Again, we're going to center this. So we're going to come over here to our heading text and center it. We're not styling it yet. Okay. The next thing we're going to add is another paragraph. So we're going to click here on this plus button and search for our text module like that. And then again, we're going to center it. Now we're going to have those two buttons. And if we need them side by side, we're going to need to add, okay, let's go with a group. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then we're going to choose our button module like that. But we need 2 of these. So I'm going to go in and duplicate it. Next, I'm going to go into my group settings. And then I'm going to make sure that over here on my layout, I'm going to set my direction to horizontal or row. Finally, I just need to center it. Now, do you see that? So far, so good. But our spacing is all over the place. Now, we may need to add one final thing here, which is our image. So for our image, I'm going to add this plus button here, and we're going to add a group as well. And in that group, we're going to add an image like that. Okay. So now we have all the elements that we need to design something that looks similar to this. So at this stage, I've added all the elements that I need, but we still have a problem because I still need to go in manually and start adding my buttons. So right now, you should take a look at this. If I go over here to the top, we have no presets. Now, a moment ago, remember I mentioned that in Divi 5, we need to use what is known as a preset-based design. So in order for us to have this design system, like I mentioned earlier on, I have Krafter. This is our Divi 5 design system. And by the way, I will share with you the price and what it comes with. So let's go ahead and install the design system because right now our website is pretty much naked. Okay, we have to recreate every single preset for our design to be successful. But of course, we can't do that. We need to save time. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to open this in a new tab. And I'm going to go to my dashboard because this is where I need to install my preset. So the next thing you want to do is to come over here to Divi. Okay, you want to go to the Divi library and then you want to click here on import and export. It's very important you click this. The next thing you want to do is to import our design system. So I'm going to click here on this little button here. Okay, and then I'm going to click here where it says import presets. It's very important we click this because remember, preset based system. So now we need to look for our presets. It's over here. I'm going to click on choose file and I know mine is in the downloads folder. So in your case, once you've purchased it, you need to unzip this file here first. And then when you unzip it, you're going to have this file called Krafter 1.5.json. So you want to click on that and then say open. Next, you're just going to click on import builder layouts, and this is going to import our complete design system. And you see, just like that, it has been imported. Okay, so now we are pretty much ready to start designing, and you can see our framework is here. Okay, so you want to make sure you use the latest one. You don't want to use this one here. In fact, we might as well just trash it because we don't need the old one. Okay, so the next thing you want to do now is to go to your page that you're designing. Right, so first of all, let's save it, and then now we're going to refresh it. Now, before I do that, I just want to show you that there is nothing here. If we go to numbers, okay, there is no variables, nothing. Okay, when you go to colors, we just have our basic colors here, nothing very exciting. But the moment I refresh this, because I've just installed it, I want you to notice what happens. Things are going to start changing now for the better. So if I click here on the variable manager, if I go to my numbers, look at that. Now this has been populated with my spaces, my numbers, everything is now in here. If I go to colors, look at that. We have all these colors now added. No errors, nothing. Everything is just perfect. Now we have the ability to go in and start designing. Now I just want you to take a look at the process now, okay? I want to go in, first of all, I'm going to go into this build for commerce, okay? I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to go to design. Under text here, if I click in, you can see I have all my presets here. I want to make this a label. Okay, just look at that. My label has been done. Next, I've got my text here. I'm going to select it and it's a heading text. So I want to set this to, let's say, heading 3. I just want to see how it looks. Okay, so I've selected heading 3, but I also need to map it. In fact, it's already mapped. That's heading 3. So let's try maybe heading 2 because we want it nice and big. Okay, so we're going to get rid of heading 3. Now we have heading 2. Next, we have our paragraph text. So I'm going to click in here and then I'm going to go to text. So in text here, this is my body text. So I'm going to go ahead and select body. Now, I know that my text, my body text needs to be the same across the whole website. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this the default. To do that, I'm going to come over here and go to body text and then just click on this little star here and then just say yes. Now, whatever paragraph text I decide to add onto this website is going to be responsive, fluid, and it will have the same size. I know you don't believe me. Let me show you. I'm going to click here, search for my text module, and then I'm going to select it. Do you see that? Same size across the whole website. Now you're going to have a consistent looking website just by doing just that one thing. Okay, let's get rid of that. Next, we have our buttons. So I'm going to select my button here, and then I'm going to come over here to the top. Now look at that. All my buttons are designed for me already. So I want a primary button here. Okay, so the primary button I want is just the basic one. All right, so I'm going to select my button, and can you see that? It's nice, it's clean. You don't even need to do anything to it. Okay, so let's take a look at our design here. What does it look like? Okay, so this one here is the lighter version. Okay, so I know mine is a bit more defined. So I'm going to click here on my button, and then this time I'm going to choose the primary, but light. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Bang. You see that? Now I have a light version. But if I need an outline one, I can also go in and say, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm going to go primary button outline. Now we have an outline. But you know what? I prefer the lighter version. Okay? So at this stage now, we're probably thinking, okay, so what about the spacing? Because things don't look right, you know? And I'm sure you can agree with me. Just by looking at this, it doesn't look right. The spacing doesn't look right. But before I apply the spacing, I just want to go in and fix our image here. So let's go to our background. In fact, we need to add our image by coming over here. And I think I have something in my media library. Yes, I've got this default image here. I'm going to say upload an image, and boom, we have our image right there. So we are pretty much close to this design. I'm sure you can agree with me. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? So if you want to make this slightly bigger, look, we have so many options. Okay, we can go to design, and then instead of H2, we can go in and say, okay, let's go with heading large. And just by doing that, this is responsive. It's going to work for you. No issues. Okay, so that's a bit too big for me. So I'm going to go with, okay, let's go with heading 1. So far, so good. The next thing I want to do now is to add my spacing for my sections. So I'm going to select my section here like that, right? So for my spacing, you come over here to the top. Typically, for this layout, if you go with, let's say, medium, it should work fine for you. But if you want a bit more space, you can just say large. So section large. Okay, I think I'm going to go with that. Now, did you notice that at no stage did I go in and choose pixels, RAM, and all of that? And for my colors, I didn't even need to choose any colors because my colors are right here. Look at that. If I click here on this section background here, I can literally go to content, background. And now instead of going into the colors, I can just click here and I have my primary background. Boom. But I don't want to do that. I can choose dark background. And these are like my quick colors, you know, as I'm designing. Maybe I'm prototyping. I want to see how the design looks. Very, very easy. Look at my buttons, how they stand out. I mean, isn't that amazing? I know this is zooming out. I think this is something to do with Divi. But when I do a quick preview, let's take a look at that. Look at that. The hover states are just nice, clean, you know, no issues. All right, you see that? But we're not done yet because if we take a look at the spacing, remember I mentioned the spacing, right? This is our next task. So I want to show you something else about the colors. So here we have our dark background, right? I can get rid of that completely. But if I want to really see all my colors, I'll click on this plus button, right? But look at that. I have all my colors here and they're labeled, by the way. So I can go with secondary 200. That's my secondary color. I can go with primary. I can go with primary 100, which is a very light color. You see that? No need to guess. No need to go in and start, you know, choosing where you're going to, you know, what color you're going to. No need for that. Everything has been designed for you from a UI perspective. So let's go to the final thing now. And this is the most important part, the spacing. This is what separates you from the professionals, right? So I'm going to select my rows. Now, in order for us to go in and apply our spacing properly, what we need to do is to remove any default spacing. So I'm going to come over here to design, and then on the layout here, I just want to make sure that my gap is set to 0. Okay, that's what I normally do. Next, we're going to come back over here, go to our elements. Now we have one column, so we need to go into this column, go into design, and then under the layout here, you want to go in. Now, these are all pre-made sizes for you, but if we want to go in specific, you just want to go in and say gap 0. I know that looks crazy, but hold on and see what's going to happen now. We are going to use margin top because it's much easier for us. So I'm going to select my main group here, okay, which is where my image is. And then I'm going to go to spacing because that's where everything is. If I click here, I'm going to look for margin top large. So we're going to scroll down. Okay, so we have our margin top. You can see here medium, extra large, and so on. So let's try extra large. Okay, right. So far so good. I like that extra large. Okay, and then we're going to come to this next one here, and then we're going to go to our spacing again. So we're looking for margin top. Let's go medium. Okay, I think that looks great. And then this one here can be small. So I'm going to go to margin top, small. Okay, because these two relate. And then for this one here, I'm going to add medium. So I'm going to go to spacing and margin top medium. Okay, so here on my image, it's extra large. Okay, and then here, and you can see it says margin top medium. And then here we have small. So it just depends. If you want to make it small as well on the top here, it's pretty much up to you. But I think this is a bit more balanced and it looks much, much better. So with this now, we're pretty much almost complete, right? I may want this to stand out. So you can just go into that label, and there's no harm in going in and saying, okay, you know what? For our font weight, let's just go in and say semi-bold. And that's fine, right? I'm going to save this. Now there's one more step. And this step is also fantastic because it does the setting site-wide. I'm going to come over here to my variable manager, because obviously for every website, you only use the default font that, you know, Divi5 gives us, because that's just the starting point. So what you need to do now is to come over here to our fonts. Okay, that's what we need. I'm going to change this from Open Sans to Poppins. And then for my body, I'm going to change this to Inter. But of course, in your case, you can choose whatever, you know, font you want. And then once you have these two, save the variables. Now look at that. Doesn't that look clean? It's now updated. And now let's take a look at our page. I'm going to refresh this. And this is how you design professional layouts. Now there's a lot that we have in this design system. There's a lot. Now I'm sure you can agree with me that this way of designing is definitely much better. And let me just show you that everything is responsive. I'm going to go in and inspect, and I'm just going to drag this. Now watch the heading size, watch the heading size, watch the buttons, watch the buttons. Do you see that? Now we're going into a mobile size now. Look at that. Look at that. Everything is looking great. Look at the buttons. Look at the spacing. Look at the heading. I mean, come on. What else would you need in a builder, in a design system? Isn't that amazing? This is what you get out of the box with Krafter. Now, I know at this stage you're probably saying, okay, so how does this work? How much is it? So the Krafter design system is going for $77. Now, this is an early bird price because there's still a little tweaks that I may need to do here and there as Divi is getting out of beta, because as you know, I'm building this on top of beta. So Divi might make some changes that are required for me to update this. So this is why this is the early bird price, so you can try it out. And I'm sure you're going to use this as your proper design system. Now, I'm also giving you a starter template, which gives you the 404 pages, the search results page, the archive pages, and so on. It goes for $47. You get this also absolutely free as a bonus if you purchase this for $77. Now, I'm building a whole ecosystem of modules based on this design system. So this is going to be your base for any website you may want to build from this moment onwards using Divi5. So go ahead, check it out. The link to that is in the video description below. And also, if you're someone who wants to learn how to design websites using Divi, I also have a course called the Divi5 Mastery. Right now, it has 1,014 students. This course is only $27. This is what you need in order for you to be ahead of everyone when it comes to using Divi5. I've been doing training on this from the moment Divi was in alpha. So I've been using this for a very long time and I've mastered how Divi works. So hence me creating the Divi5 Mastery course. It's only $27. Go ahead. The link to that is in the video description below, and join all the other students in creating amazing looking websites with Divi. Until next time, thanks. Oh, I almost forgot. If you're a lifetime member, Krafter is absolutely free, and pretty much everything you see on Divi University for lifetime members, absolutely free. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.